I write the design brief myself because I see a problem and I don't wait to be asked what to do about it. I say this is the way to fix it and make a design and try to show it to politicians, bureaucrats, decision makers, industry people, try to get the finance. Getting a public project together is not as simple as the private sector. You need a lot of buy-in from a lot of stakeholders. You need to build consensus, and you also need to you have to be able to convey the passion for the idea that you have into the minds of the decision makers. Once that happens, 1 out of 20 gets through. But I am not depressed by that. Somebody asked me one day, how do you go on doing stuff and hardly anything happens? And I said, I am an irresistible force pushing against an immovable object. But sometimes the immovable object looks away and you can get behind it and get something good happens. It's good in a way. You have to be an optimist in these things. You can't keep saying it's impossible to do it in India. Urban design, as distinct from urban planning and from architecture, the word urban has to be embedded into the heads of the people who run the city. And urban design doesn't mean just making films about the city, or it's about how do you make a footpath, how do you make a drain, how do you make sure when it rains a lot, flooding doesn't happen. This is all hard engineering, but it's also hard design. Sure. Unless there's a design element to it, it won't look good. And a city's identity, you must remember, is actually about the quality of its infrastructure. You remember cities, how clean it was, how well made it was, how historical things have been preserved so beautifully. That's your memory of when you go to other places. How do you make that? Is fundamentally good quality infrastructure. If you do aesthetic good quality infrastructure, the city's identity will get strengthened. And people will feel a sense of pride. I mean, a quick example, like you asked me, a few years back, the government asked me to work with them on redoing Church Street as a pedestrian-oriented street. Church Street is a street parallel to MG Road, which is the old center of Bangalore. Some might argue that the new center is Whitefield now, but for us old Bangaloreans, MG Road was it. So this was a beautiful road next to it, which was not a arterial road. It was not even it was a secondary road. And we worked with the government, the BBMP, the Bangalore Mahanagara Palika, that's the Bangalore City Corporation, and all the other parastatals, the electricity people, BESCOM, BWSSB, everybody. And with the political system, making sure that committed to the success of the project. I don't know whether, according to me, Church Street is one of the best streets built in India. And it's built to last. It never has to be dug again for the next 30, 40 years. It is based on a system developed by another company called TenderS.U.R.E. Now almost about 60 kilometers of roads in the center of Bangalore have walkable footpaths, ducted infrastructure, and perfectly laid roads without a single pothole in them. It's possible to do it in India, but it requires huge amounts of both physical, spiritual, and sometimes extracorporeal energy also. You have to get the energy to do it, because the system is not geared to change that rapidly.
For stories like this, keep following us. From Code to Culture, our podcast. Subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media.